And we're coming to you today, we meaning a community here at the Pasco Sheriff's Office in Pasco County, in particular the Pasco Sheriff's Office and the Pasco County District School Board. We as a community are fortunate today, very fortunate that as a community and even as a little person, everybody did their jobs today at Hudson Elementary. We as a community, and particularly the families who have children who go to Hudson Elementary, are fortunate because our school safety guard did what he was supposed to do today. Our school administration did what they were supposed to do today. And another little person, likely I believe 8 years old, did what they were supposed to do today. We frequently talk about training. We frequently talk about training, messaging, see something, say something campaigns. All of that paid off today, and we're fortunate. About 1 o'clock this afternoon, a school safety guard at Hudson Elementary School saw a group of young boys kind of together in a bathroom, and he went to kind of shoo them away back to their classroom, and they all did as this security guard or security guardian did as he said, with the exception of one little guy who remained back and told the school safety guard that there was another little guy who was just there, who left, but had a gun in his backpack. Immediately, just as trained, immediately the school security guard acted and went right to that room where the child was and grabbed up his backpack. When he did so, he immediately got the little guy as well. They went to the principal's office. At this point, obviously the school security guard had been told that there was a gun in a backpack. And sure enough, whenever the backpack was searched, the school security guard found a loaded 9mm 6-hour handgun. There was no need for any sort of lockdown. There was no indication that any other children were armed or anybody else was armed. And so the immediacy of the event was stifled upon the school crossing, or the school security guard finding the loaded firearm. Immediately, the school administration contacted the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office deployed folks there, and there's currently an ongoing investigation into all the circumstances surrounding it. So a lot of the information that I mentioned is preliminary. There's still an active investigation, and we're trying to find out all the whys. Everybody wants to know the why. We want to know the why too. The whys, the hows, things of that nature. And so we want to highlight the fact that our folks, the teamwork, the training that we deploy every day worked in this occasion. Any questions?
Is it frustrating for you to see this happen time and time again? I know Kurt Browning has made videos about don't make jokes about this kind of stuff, and yet here we are yet again.
Yeah, so anytime, it frustrates me as a law enforcement officer who started this profession to protect, to even think of a possibility of what could have happened in this situation. So it's absolutely frustrating, particularly because what the outcome could have been, but additionally, what resources have to go into things of this nature. Rightly so, resources have to go into this investigation to find out all those the who, what, when, where, why, and how. But in some instances, I think you're alluding to is that it's not quite like this. There's just threats and so forth, but it absolutely is frustrating.
Any indication on where this gun came from?
Right now, all that is under investigation. We believe right now was from the home.
Do you know if the little boy had had spoken to his friends with any sort of indication of what he planned to do with it, or was he just showing it to them just to?
Yeah, so obviously in the bathroom he was showing it to them, but all that's part of the investigation to identify all the little guys that were there, what they were told, what they saw, and things of that nature. But as of now, he's just showing it.
Pretty frightening stuff too for an 8-year-old child to have this, because I mean at that age they might not even realize what they have, you know, or how dangerous it is.
Absolutely. If I was a parent that attended a child, had a child that went there, I would be very ecstatic at the response. But again, thinking of the what ifs, fortunately we didn't get to that. But yes, absolutely, really a frightening instance.
Is there anything criminal or parents being looked at, the child?
So yeah, we obviously want to know why, how the child got access to this firearm and things of that nature. So anytime a law enforcement officer is doing an investigation, it's usually a criminal in nature. Not to suggest that there's definitely going to be charges, but we're going to work with the state attorney's office to find out, once we gather all the facts, then we can have a better chance of making the right decision in terms of criminal charges.
What did the parents say?
We're still in the midst of talking to them and so forth.
Are there any other siblings of the child that brought the?
I'm told there's some. I don't know the ages at this point and exactly how many. I don't know if it's at that school or not.
Did the officer that was in that came into the restroom, did the other kids say that he had it out of the backpack showing it?
So I don't know if it was actually out. It's my understanding that he was showing it in the bathroom.
So this wasn't a, I need it for protection kind of thing, this was a show and tell kind of thing?
That's the early indication, yes, sir.
Is he a third grader, if he's 8?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Any message to parents about, again, gun safety, because obviously this child got a hold of a loaded gun?
Yeah, so anytime there's a gun in the home, firearm locks, locked firearms in safes, when you have young children in the house, because instances like this, sometimes parents, they may not even think their child knows where the gun is, but we all know oftentimes children do snoop around their parents' belongings, and yeah, so not school, but gun locks, gun safes are a must with young children.
Is this the first time you've responded to something like this, especially with a child of that age being 8 years old?
There's not any that I can remember definitely recently. I'm sure over the course of a number of years there has been things, whether it be in this district or another district, where this has occurred, but I can't think of any recent incidences where we've had an actual loaded firearm brought by a child so young.
Works a little differently in our different counties. This security guard, he's employed by the school district?
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
So he's basically just a security guard, he's not involved with the sheriff's office?
Yes, but he did a phenomenal job. He acted immediately. He went right to that school, or right to that classroom, and grabbed up the backpack, and that way there was no threat from that point forward.
8 years old is so young. What did you guys do? Did you take him into custody? Do you put him in hand? How do you handle that situation?
Yeah, so obviously when you start talking criminal things surrounding 8-year-olds, obviously their brains aren't fully developed and so forth. And so that's, I mean, there definitely needs to be discipline, and obviously that's yet to be determined. But securing him, once he no longer has access to that firearm, that was the main threat, and so he's an 8-year-old boy at that point, and there was no indication that he had any other weapons, so I'm not aware of any sort of detainment or handcuffs or anything along those lines.
Do you know if, or this may be for Linda, do you know if the boy is going to be suspended from school or expelled from school, or what's going to happen there?
I can't speak specifically about a student's discipline, but I can tell you that our discipline matrix does call for automatic 10-day suspension, recommendation for expulsion, and referral to law enforcement for this kind of an incident.
And was there any sort of notification that went out to parents as soon as you guys realized what was happening?
Well, the principal was busy sorting things out, but a call did go out at dismissal, so the parents have been notified. It was mentioned the student did a good job with see something, say something, and also he reminded parents to keep their weapons secured so that students can't access them.
Any more questions? Alrighty, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
That was the press conference from Pasco County, the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, detailing, answering as many questions as they could, talking about a story that has been alarming for a lot of parents, not just in Pasco County, but really across the Tampa Bay area, across the entire state of Florida. An 8-year-old student bringing a loaded handgun to Hudson Elementary School. So now we're learning from Pasco County officials as to basically what transpired today. Let's kind of go over some of the details from the beginning. It was around 1 o'clock this afternoon, so later in the school day, when a school safety guard observed a group of young boys together near a school bathroom, again, at Hudson Elementary. He went over there to shoo them away to get them back to their studies. But one student, according to Pasco County officials, stayed behind, did not leave that spot near the bathroom, and informed the safety guard at the school that one of the students that was in that group that had just dispersed had a gun in his backpack. The school security guard, or the school safety guard rather, is said to have acted extremely quickly, followed the identified student to the particular classroom that he had gone to, grabbed the backpack, and found a loaded 9mm handgun inside that backpack. The situation was then contained from there. A lot of you were asking in our previous stream here on WFLA Now whether or not the school was ever placed on lockdown. They did address that by saying that once the situation was contained, there was no need for a lockdown. They thought that there was no reason that the threat had been handled after identifying the student and also finding the gun inside the backpack. Again, a loaded 9mm handgun in the backpack of an 8-year-old child, a student at Hudson Elementary School. So this one student left behind. So we have a tale of two students here. One student who brought a loaded handgun to school, a handgun that Pasco County officials believe came from the student's home. So we have that student doing something terribly wrong, but then we also have the other student doing the exact opposite, doing the right thing, alerting a school safety guard that the gun was in that group of students, and then the school safety guard finding that student, obtaining or taking into possession the loaded 9mm handgun, which I'm sure was a startling discovery for that school safety guard, finding that handgun in the backpack of an 8-year-old child and taking over the situation from there, alerting the authorities and getting the Pasco County Sheriff's Office involved. So, everybody, JB Buno here with you on WFLA Now. Again, the tale of two students, one student doing something terribly wrong and another student perhaps preventing something far worse from happening here today in Pasco County, right here in the Tampa Bay area. We're talking about the story with you here on WFLA's Facebook page, and if there's any questions that I can answer for you in listening to this press conference and covering this story over the last 2 hours since we learned about it from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, I will try to answer. We have a lot of comments coming in on WFLA's Facebook page. If you use the hashtag HeyJB, it allows me to kind of see comments a little bit more clearly in the comments section here, and I can try to answer as many questions as possible. So again, just use the hashtag HeyJB if you have a question or a comment that you just want me to read, if you have a particular comment, because this is obviously, struck a chord with a whole lot of folks here in the Tampa Bay area, parents and non-parents alike, who believe that this story is truly surreal, one that is hard to really wrap your brains around. We hear a lot of instances in this country these days, and as unfortunate as it is, of high school students bringing firearms to school. It's more prevalent, of course, for high school students as they are young adults or approaching adulthood. But for an 8-year-old student at an elementary school to bring a loaded 9mm handgun, it's hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom, again, whether you're a parent or you're not a parent. So I'm going to try to read as many comments and questions here. Again, use the hashtag HeyJB so we can have a little bit of a dialogue here, a little bit of a conversation, because if you're watching this still after the press conference is concluded, you're probably very troubled by this story, and it's not. There's no reason you shouldn't be, because it's a story that is quite alarming. Dave Markle in the comment section on WFLA's Facebook page saying, 8-year-old, you know right from wrong. And I think that most of us, and many of us, would agree with that statement, that at 8 years old, at that age, that a gun is not something to be bringing to school. It's not a toy. And a lot of you have been commenting that the parents need to be held responsible. Lana Young in the comment section saying parents need to be charged. You heard from the Pasco County officials there in the press conference address that in saying that they are going to conduct their investigation. They're going to be communicating with the Florida State Attorney's Office, finding out who is responsible, finding out where the gun exactly came from. They said they believe it came from the home, and going to be going from there as to determining whether or not charges should be filed. Alice Eves saying, I believe hashtag KJB, watching from West Virginia. That is crazy. Yeah, you don't have to be from Florida to think that this story is nuts, to think that this story is just unbelievable, because it is unbelievable. It's an 8-year-old bringing a handgun to school in their backpack. WFLA top Facebook fan Nicole Lynn says, my son is 8 and definitely knows better. I think that most parents out there, if you have an 8-year-old child or a child in that age range, I would hope that they know that bringing a gun to school is you shouldn't ever touch a gun if you're 8 years old. You shouldn't be holding a firearm, let alone bringing it to school. You of course need to follow the supervision of your parents. Anytime that there is a firearm in the household, it is up to the parents who legally own that firearm to be safely responsible and making sure that that gun is only used when it absolutely has to be used, or used under the correct supervision. Cliff, WFLA top Facebook fan, saying, children know the difference between right and wrong before they reach the age of 2, according to research. Scientists have found that babies aged between 19 and 21 months understand fairness and can apply it to different situations. Okay, so that's the comment there from Cliff. WFLA top Facebook fan Michael Lapino says he's a WFLA Facebook fan, top Facebook fan. He says, hold the parents accountable. Amy saying, yes, in the presser they are investigating. A lot more questions and comments coming in here. Drea Jackson, are the parents going to be charged? And an 8-year-old boy should know better. Why did he even show it? And how did anybody not know about it? It's a good question, Drea, especially at the end there, because interesting that it was 1 o'clock in the school day before it was brought to the attention of a school security guard. Again, if you're just joining us, let's go over what was said, because there's a student here, a student who did the right thing, and that student really ought to be commended and deserves. It's just an example of a child who was just doing the right thing, and perhaps good parenting in this particular instance, because we have a group of young boys that were apparently together near a school bathroom inside Hudson Elementary School. The school safety guard was noticed that the boys were hanging out, lingering by the bathroom, approached them, tried to shoo them away back to class. And one student, as they all kind of scurried back to class, as it was described, one student stayed behind and spoke to the school safety guard and alerted that safety guard that one of the boys in that group that had just, scurried away, one of those boys had a gun in their backpack. So that student alerting the school safety guard, doing the right thing. I think that all of you out there know that we're now talking about a story about a student doing something terribly wrong and a student doing something incredibly right. Because then the school safety guard followed the identified student to the classroom where he then went right into the backpack, acted with a sense of urgency, as we've been told, and grabbed the gun out of the backpack and secured it. And that was why there was no need to place the school on lockdown. So if you're just joining us, there's a little recap of events that we just learned in the press conference that began shortly after 5 o'clock p.m. This evening. Let's see here. I'm trying to read a couple more comments. Let's see here. Adam asking, where is this? Pasco County, Florida, Hudson Elementary School in Pasco County. Holly McTaggart asking, how did he get the gun? It's said to have come from the home, but whether or not that gun was properly and legally secured, as recommended, we don't know. We don't know if the gun was just laying around. We don't know if the young boy found some way to gain access to it. I'm sure that is going to be a major focus point of the investigation now by not just deputies with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, but also the Florida State Attorney's Office that are now getting involved. Robin is watching from Tennessee, saying this is getting crazy. I agree, Robin. You don't have newscaster, non-newscaster. It doesn't really matter who you are. This is crazy. An 8-year-old bringing a gun to school. It's hard to fathom. Let's see here. Amy List says, Hero Award to the one who told the truth. Yeah. I think that this is an example of a student doing the right thing in the fact that that student alerted the school safety guard to the other student who had the gun. I will, guys, everybody, we'll take just a couple more questions here or comments. Again, we're here for you on WFLA Now, reading through your comments and your questions. Again, if you're just joining us and you want more on the story, it's on WFLA.com and the WFLA app, as well as right now we are in the heart of our 5 o'clock newscast. We're your NBC station right here in Tampa Bay, Florida. And if you turn to News Channel 8 on your side right now, you'll be in our 5 o'clock newscast. Actually, I'm seeing we're in a commercial break. So we're about to return from a commercial break to our 5 o'clock newscast where we have more coverage on this story. Let's see here. A couple more comments and questions if you have them, everybody. We're reading them from the comment section on WFLA's Facebook page. Let's see here. Stacy asking, how did they know about a gun? One student asked about it. Or informed a school safety guard about it. Yeah, Alice, #JB, something worse could have happened if the student didn't stay behind and be brave. And then applause emojis there from Alice. Again, just a couple more comments here that we're going to be reading. Lita asking, where is this? Again, Pasco County, Florida. Hudson Elementary. Kara saying in the comment section, how bad are things when an 8-year-old brings a loaded handgun to school? Michelle, well, the gun was in the young child's home. With TV, video games, guns are pretty common. Unfortunately, so glad it was recovered. Everyone is safe. That's a comment from Michelle Minnick Matthews in our comment section there. I want to just clarify. They believe the gun came from the home. That was what was said during the press conference, but can't definitively say that. That's where they believe that the gun came from. Again, the school safety guard found out about this at 1 o'clock today. We, the media, were alerted around 3 o'clock, about 2 hours later. That's usually pretty quick. Sometimes these types of stories, we don't find out about them until the day after. So all of this happening in the last 4.5 hours here in Tampa Bay. That is a very, very quick turnaround as far as news coverage goes on a particular event. Evie Peabody says, thank God they found it. Paula Childress saying, what are parents thinking? Robin Spears Williams, how did he get the gun? They believe it's from the home, but in fact, like how specifically the 8-year-old got the gun, we're not exactly sure. It's part of their investigation. Cassandra, #JB, did the school make any comments about any plans to help prevent this situation in the future? They spoke, Cassandra, about they almost put out like a public service announcement. You know, a lot of times reporters will ask the question in a press conference setting like this, what do parents need to do? What is the call to action here? What can we do as a society to prevent this from happening again? And I can't say exactly what the words were, but basically the sentiment that was shared by the Pasco County Sheriff's Office was that it's up to the parents. The parents, if you legally own a firearm, it's your right, of course, to legally own that firearm or multiple firearms, but it is also your duty to securely make sure that firearm does not fall into your, the hands of your children, and you don't want it brought to school. So it falls. Basically, what they were saying, Cassandra, was that it falls on the parents. That parents need to make sure that if they have a firearm, it is safe and secure. And I think that the official in the press conference said something to the effect of, if you're a parent and you legally own a firearm, you may think that your child doesn't know where that firearm is, but you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at how smart, how crafty, and how resourceful children can be at that age. And you think that you're going to secure, but is it really secure? Is basically, to sum up what that they were saying. So it falls on the parents. The call to action is that it falls on the parents. That was basically what was communicated by the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Sharon is asking about bullying. There was no mention of bullying in the press conference. I know that was brought up in a previous stream. No mention of bullying of any kind. Now, bullying might have been involved. If we're just going to take a sec, I hate doing this, but if we take a second just to speculate for a second, if the child was a victim of bullying and was the target of bullying, that is no excuse to bring a loaded handgun to school. Children, unfortunately, are bullied every day in this country. Every day. Elementary school, middle school, kindergarten, pre-K, college. Bullying goes on everywhere, okay? But bringing a loaded handgun to school is, no. Not for any student, let alone an 8-year-old. Okay, one or two more, everybody, before we got to get going. Chad in the comment section saying, why has discipline become outdated? ? This is the result of an undisciplined child. I'm not going to read the rest of that comment, but I'll read the final thing he says. He says, America has gone soft, and that's sad. Let's see here. Belinda asking, what school is this? It's Hudson Elementary. Sheila says you have to go after the parents. And I think that's going to do it for us here on WFLA Now, everybody. I'm JB Buono. Thanks so much for being with us here, everybody. You can read more on this story on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. We also have more coverage coming here. It's 5:30 right now Eastern Time. Our 5:30 portion of our evening newscast is getting underway right now. We're actually in a Medal of Honor Heroes story that I know we've been reporting on for the last several days. But we're getting to a lot more stories here on our 5:30 newscast. Thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.